a lot of times when we gave you a book to do, and there's some fabulous books out there to do for Bible study. But as a mom, sometimes a book can become very overwhelming. And the truth is, what I think I know, what I definitely know about myself, and I possibly know about you, is that as a mom, very rarely do you lay down at night and think, wow, I killed it today. I was awesome. I accomplished everything on my list. And so like what ends up happening is that a book, a Bible study book, sitting there on your table, all of a sudden what was intended to bless can actually start causing stress, because it's something that was, yes, intended to bless you, but as a mom, isn't it crazy how the enemy can use random inanimate objects to scream, yet another thing you're failing at? Yes. Have you experienced that? Yes. I mean, that even you'll just see someone with posting their precious pictures of their baby's first birthday, and it's beautiful, and they're celebrating the baby, and you think, I didn't think to do personalized water bottles. You know, and so you just have all of these things that all of a sudden hit you different. Crazy. Motherhood is such a gift. And I always knew, you guys, Peyton, oh, he's such a joy to us. And he is such an introvert, a child of few words, born to a mother who never runs out of them, you know. And we so often, even just yesterday I went and he was laying down on his bed watching a video, and I went in there and I sat down and he was like, what are you doing? And I go, I just want to be with you. And he goes, like, do you have some questions? Or I go, sometimes I just like want to sit near to you. And he goes, okay. For how long? Like, can we set a timer? You know, it's just such a crazy feeling. And so I remember the stage of life where I had two toddlers. Our boys, honestly, if we had just had Peyton, he is so laid back, so easygoing, really wants to make his parents happy. If we had just had Peyton, we could have really thought we were awesome. Because he just was naturally wanted to make us happy. But then we had Benjamin. And Benjamin, my dad always says, Benjamin was born smoking a cigar. And he brings us so much joy, but my goodness, he is an adventure. And it is so incredible, but we have been humbled because we've realized we can't tell Benjamin everything not to do. Do you have a kid like that? That you're like, oh my goodness, I wish I would have thought to tell you not to do that. But it would have never crossed my mind that you would think you should be standing on the top of our roof when you're 3. What is this? He is, we were laughing last night with our girls. They said, tell us the story about Benjamin at the Dallas World Aquarium. And I said, oh, that's right. Benjamin was gifted with an arm. From a young age, he could throw hard. I was at his 3rd grade field trip, and I noticed his pockets were all bulging. And I was like, Benjamin, what are you doing? He goes, everyone has said they'll give me $20. I have 5 people who said they'll each give me $20 if I'll knock that monkey off his perch up there. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Tony, my husband, was like, I bet he could have done it. I was like, babe, he could be the first 3rd grader arrested. We could be paying millions on an exotic monkey at the Dallas World Aquarium. He has taken us on such adventures. Eden is so precious. Has such a heart for the Lord and is so tender, has always been so tender. And yet, as she grows into the teen years, I'm like, oh, You're trying out a new personality. And I'm not sure it works with mine. I mean, so we're like having for the first time in our life to really work through some things and sort through some things and remind her, that face that you're making right now, I can't imagine it ever making anyone feel good. It certainly doesn't make me feel good, you know. And then Shelby is just this ball of energy and talkative and so ready to help us with everything. I mean, Tony said the other day, have you noticed that if we're ever getting on to anyone in the family, Shelby comes and stands right beside us and is like, that's right. That's right. I mean, he was like, I feel like she's going to protect us our whole life. That the baby of the family is the one that brings up the rear and is like, I have less time with them than all the rest of you, so I'm going to guard it. Sweetness. I'm telling you, because this so quickly becomes this, you know. And what you're doing right now, and I know I've told this story, but I just have to tell it again because you've got to hear it. What you are doing at this stage can feel so monotonous, and so anyone could do this. I mean, anyone could put a baby down for bed. Anyone could, you know, I mean, the enemy tells you these things. You could have more worth if you were doing this. Look at so-and-so out there doing this. But what you're doing at this stage is learning your baby. You're learning your child. You don't realize you're learning it, but you're learning them. And believe it or not, the face that Benjamin made as a rascally 2-year-old is still the face that when he walks by swinging his keys on his lanyard and goes, hey, I'm going to such and such. I said, no, you're not. You told me when you were 2, you were going to do this, and you actually did this. And I see that exact same face. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I know him. I know him. And the deal is, Peyton, who doesn't talk a lot, has a certain look that he gets when he's sad. He doesn't even know that. But I know it. I know it. And so sometimes when I go into his room, or when Tony and I go into his room, we'll say, hey, something's bothering you. And he'll go, no, it's not. And we'll say, your face. He's like, oh, yeah, well, here it is. And so I'm just wanting you to know that the world, the enemy, will tell you the things that you're doing at this stage don't matter. But I'm telling you, you will not regret a moment of it. Not a moment of it. You are investing in a relationship that is going to carry you for the rest of your life. And all of a sudden, now that Peyton is 18, I feel like I want to teach differently on mother-in-laws because I get it. The idea that some girl is going to come in someday and act like they know him better than me, let's go. Isn't that crazy? I mean, so I'm really, you guys, on the off chance that one of you are raising my daughter-in-law, I want you to know I'm really praying about it already. I'm going to work on being so kind. And I want to be a blessing because here's the thing. What I love about my boys, what I love about my girls, is I know they're going to bless someone like crazy. And I want to be in support of that. But you just really start feeling some of the emotions that you're like, oh, my mother-in-law's been with the Lord now for several years. And I wish I could go back and say, I get it. It wasn't that you didn't love me. It was that you missed Tony. Gosh, you probably loved having him in your home. And all of a sudden he went to college and he didn't come back. And I don't want Peyton to come back, but I want Peyton to come back. Isn't that crazy? You guys, it's hard. The topic today is what the world needs now. I want you to know, back in Judges, in the Old Testament of the Bible, it talks about the people of Israel are in absolute chaos. They're disagreeing on things. They're fighting over things. They're not understanding each other. Does that sound familiar? And then it says in Judges 5:3, and I, Deborah, arose a mother. And what the world needed at that point, God knew that what the Israelites needed was a mother, a mother. And so in that, I just want you to know that what the world is needing right now is you. And as crazy as it sounds, the world is needing you to mother your kids, but the world is also needing you to mother the people around you. What does that look like? It means that you comfort them. It means that when someone has a sticker on that's a different color than you, you don't judge them for it. Have any of you experienced a child that cannot stand the seams on their socks yet? If not, I hope you don't. I mean, but there are kids, and I had one of them that could not stand the seams on their toes. And so we would work with those socks. We would, we've got to get you in socks. You've got to wear socks. And we would work with them, and we would try to make it work, and we would get frustrated, but we would keep going. And the world needs people who don't lose their minds over the seams on the socks. And the world needs people who don't lose their minds helping the people who don't need seams on their socks. Do you understand me? You have a patience with your kids sometimes that is supernatural. Let me rephrase that. Sometimes you don't have patience with your kids. Sometimes you think, I want to lose my mind. But I will tell you this, on most days that you lose your mind, I would venture to say, when your child is asleep, you think differently about them. Oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Wish I hadn't reacted like that. And I think that what the Israelites were in need of when it says Deborah arose a mother, and here's the thing, we don't know if Deborah was an actual mother. I use that a lot of times when I'm talking to my single friends, like, you are a mother. You gather people, you encourage them, you bless them. And the world needs more of you as well. Deborah arose a mother, and I believe the Lord is asking you to do that as well. The world needs less judging and more, come here and let me hold you. I said to Benjamin the other day, I said, I said, when you were in kindergarten, we used to have to wake you up early. You needed to be held for like 10 minutes before school. And he goes, are you serious? And I go, yes, you would cry if you didn't have time to be held before school. I go, do you think you need that? And he goes, you're so weird. But the truth is, the world needs someone to say, hey, it's okay if you feel the way that you feel. Let me bless you in that. I don't need to change you. I want to bless you. I mean, one of the things that we have realized in our kids is, we just really thought we'd have more of a product. That sounds so crazy. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, you imagine right now what your kid is going to look like when they're 18. And I'm telling you, let it go. Let it go. We imagined that Peyton would be following this exact track. And here's what it will look like. Here's what he'll be doing. And we've just had to realize, you know what? We don't get to write Peyton's story. The Lord does. And it's taken some turns that we did not expect. And they have been hard because part of it, it hasn't just been hard for Peyton, it's been hard for us because we're like, no, this isn't your story. But the Lord is writing the story. And one of the things that we've realized is in arising a mother is that we bless people when they're living a story that looks different than ours. And so I want to encourage you in that. Then I want to remind you that what the world needs now is not more people spouting chaos. Have you ever done that? And I would encourage you. I mean, we really started when our kids were young. We would say, okay, we are going to so-and-so's house. This is where you need to act like this. They are going to serve you a plate. If you don't like everything that's on the plate, you don't need to say, I don't like anything on this plate. We are going to try new things. And we would kind of walk our kids through things. I'm not kidding you guys. One night we are at a dinner at someone at the Hills house who is fabulous and kind and wonderful, loves to host families. We were like, where is our child? They'll remain nameless. Well, they were pooping in the master bathroom naked. And so obviously then we had to add that to our next conversation is, hey, when we're at other people's homes, even though you may prefer to go to the bathroom naked, that doesn't make everyone comfortable. And so you're going to have to figure out how to do that with clothes on when we're at other people's houses, and preferably shut the door. You know, you guys, I want you to know they were toddler stage. Lest you think 18, 16-year-olds. It wasn't. It was several years ago. But I want you to know that the world doesn't need more people in chaos. And so some of that is coaching your kids. It's coaching them. Hey, this world looks crazy right now, but we trust God. We trust Him. Sometimes I've found that the truth that I'm needing to remind myself of, my kids need to hear it as well. Last year, about this time, when everything felt like it was falling apart, I felt like I was doing a pretty good job holding it all together. But you know what really blessed my kids was the day I didn't. And the day I said, man, I am struggling and I do not like what our life looks like right now. And them all being able to say, me too, here's what I miss. Here's what I wish. And so I'm not trying to tell you, and when I say the world doesn't need more chaos, I'm not saying project false positivity. Your kids need to know that it is real. Sometimes Tony and I will be kind of going back and forth, and we'll say to our kids, hey guys, this is what a healthy marriage looks like. It looks like we're disagreeing, and we are. Your dad is wrong. But they need to see that sometimes we don't get along. You know why? Because chances are about 100% someday they will be in a marriage where they don't get along. And if all they've ever seen from Tony and I is sunshine and roses, they will be tempted to think, I found the wrong person. But here's the truth. I know for a fact Tony is my person. But oh my goodness, sometimes the way he makes me better hurts my feelings. Sometimes the way I make him better hurts his feelings. And I'm not saying that we have knockdown dragouts in front of our kids. There are some things that need to be moved into another place. But our kids need to see that when chaos comes up, be it in your home, be it in your family, be it in the world, be it in the church, it does not catch us off guard. We trust God. You guys, this pandemic, we thought it was, honestly, this time last year, we were like, we've got 2 weeks. It's a hard 2 weeks. We've got 2 weeks. What are we doing? We're still in it. We're still very much in it. And so we've had to say, you guys, we are a people that like an ending, but we don't get one. Only the Lord knows when this will end. And I know we have 2 kids that cannot stand wearing a mask and 2 kids that won't take them off. It's so bizarre. And we've had to say, hey, non-mask wearers, be kind to our mask wearers. Hey, mask wearers, if you want to sit at our family dinner table with a mask on, okay. But at the same time, you need to realize that these over here are feeling a different sort of freedom than you, and we like to talk about it at our table. So interesting when I talk about the product, even this last presidential election, man, we had some at our kitchen table. Good. Because you know what? They learned to do it in a good, healthy way. And so our kids need to see we trust the Lord regardless of the outcome. And then, oh my word, time goes so fast. I guess if I was telling you some things to write down, I would say, number one, what the world needs is for you to trust something bigger than yourself. And then number two, and this is huge, you're going to need to remember who you are. Remember who you are. In times of stress, it becomes very easy for us to turn into people who lecture. Have you noticed that? Maybe not. Maybe that's just me. But I've had to go back to who did I dream of being when I thought about being a mom? Never once was I like, oh, I hope I'm a mom that goes on and on and on about the same point. You know, I hope I'm one of those moms that nags them endlessly. I hope I'm one of those moms that like brake checks them when they say they forgot their jacket. You guys, I have a friend who like will literally text, pray for me. I just brake checked my kids. Do y'all even know what that means? She like slams on the anyways. I asked her, I was like, what do your kids say? And I actually asked one of her kids the other day, and he goes, she does that. Keep working with her. Anyways, and I'm not working with her. We're trying to hold each other accountable. But here's the thing. You have to remember who you are. And sometimes remembering who you are can be a little bit depressing. But here's the thing. Who do you want to be with the Spirit of God alive and active in you? Because that is, if you ever hear anything in this class from one of the speakers, and my goodness, I think y'all have four of the best speakers ever in this little short session. If you ever hear something that you're like, I don't understand, that's not my reaction, and you think I would never react like that, I want you to know that the four people that are speaking all are heavily reliant on the Spirit of God. I told Benjamin the other day, and he's been hearing this his whole life. I was like, Benjamin, oh my word, I love you so much. And these hands, man, they want to hurt you. They want to hurt you because you are doing some crazy things. And it's not crazy like illegal. It's not crazy like bad, but it's like, Benjamin, you cannot squill your tires every time you leave our driveway. I know you think that that's impressive, but it makes me tense in ways that you can't imagine because I'm already thinking about your little body, and it's not a little body, but you on the road, you know? And so when you squeal those tires, it like causes my mind to start spinning. And so there's a part of me, thus far, I have not gone out the front door to meet you. We've got a long driveway. But I want you to know, the Spirit of God keeps reminding me, I've got him working on that. And I said, and the Spirit of God keeps telling me to stay inside the house. And the Spirit of God is strong, Benjamin. But my flesh is fighting him. And someday, if I catch that truck after you just squealed those tires, you will think about it the rest of your life. Stop squealing tires. I mean, like that is, so there's just some things that you have to remember who you are. I don't want to be the mom that goes and jerks Benjamin out of the car, but it's in me. It's in me. I think back on, Peyton is now a senior, and I think back on when he first went to Santa's workshop, the little school shop, and he bought 4 I Love Grandma signs for Christmas, and we don't even have anyone we call grandma. But he just wanted to be done, so he went in and bought 4 I Love Grandma signs to give to everyone. I was like, Peyton, why did you do this? You spent $20. We don't even have a grandma. And I like really lost my mind talking to Peyton. I like look back on that now, and I'm like, God, why did I make such a big deal about that? But you know what? We were at a different point in parenting. We were at a different stage of life. At that point in life, $20 felt like a massive amount of money. And what was I going to do with 4 I Love Grandma signs? You know, but I have to remember who I am, who I want to be, what I'm doing. I have to remember that it comes natural to me to make a big deal out of little things. But the Spirit of God is coming to me and saying, calm down. As crazy as it sounds, I really wish I had those I Love Grandma signs. I told Tony the other night, I was like, I feel really sad about that. made him take back those I love grandma signs. And Tony was like, hey, you're crazy. You are like literally thinking of things you did wrong, 13 years ago. And I was like, honey, it's what a mother does. I do. But the Spirit of God is coming and he's calming me down and he's saying, remember who you are. And sometimes when you remember who you are and that's hard, remember who you're becoming. Remember who you're becoming. And then I put this as one of the discussion questions, and I want you to know this, that things just as mold and mildew grow fast in the dark, you are going to have to, as a mother, when you're remembering, sometimes you're going to have to go to someone you trust and say, can you shine some light on this for me? Have you ever had laundry that you left somewhere, or your kids put a wet swimsuit in the back corner of your car and you find it later and it's like, oh, babe, I'm going to have to throw away this swimsuit. But if you had showed me the day you took it off in the back seat, which what were you doing naked in the back seat? If you had shown me that day, it wouldn't have been ruined. But because it's back here now, we really don't have anything to do with this. I want to tell you that there are going to be some hard things that come your way. One of the things that I want you to know is right now, when they're this size, this size, this size, you are training them to know how you are going to respond when they struggle. And there have been some things that our 18-year-old son has come to us and he has said, well, and I'll be real honest, he hasn't come to us. We've had to go to him and say, tell us about this. Why didn't you tell us? And he's like, well, I kind of know how y'all react. What do you mean? And that's when I have thoughts like, it's the I love grandma side. I started training him at this stage. Hey, either do it right or I'm going to freak out. And now Shelby brings home I love grandma signs, and we're like, oh, Shelby, you're adorable. And Benjamin said once, I think you like Shelby better than all the rest of us. And I said, oh, honey, it's not that I like Shelby better. It's that I've learned so much. And I'm so sorry, because y'all kind of get the raw end of the deal on mom's learning, you first ones. But now when Shelby says, hey, can we stop at the park? I think, why not? What else can we be doing? Whereas when Peyton and Benjamin were saying, hey, can we stop at the park? I was like, no way. Y'all already wore me out at Walmart. You are going to have to remember who you are, remember who you want to be, remember who you are becoming, and you are going to at different times have to say, hey, can you shine the light on this for me? This little moldy swimsuit can also be a little moldy thing in a relationship, be it with your child, be it with your husband, be it with your friend, where something that is not a big deal, if you grab it on the first day and throw it in the washer, all of a sudden it can get ruined over here in the dark. And so we're just having to learn to say, and this becomes important even when they're tiny, to say, hey, mommy made a mistake today. She freaked out over the I love grandma signs. That's not a big deal. You know, I remember telling Benjamin like every day, he was one of those babies that you almost like had to put your arm on him to like change his diaper. Did any of y'all have one of those? You know, I mean, we had to put our arm on him, and I was like, oh my goodness, Benjamin, you're a fighter. You are a fighter. What is the Lord going to do with you? Do you hear how that's a reframe from, Benjamin, you're getting everything everywhere. Stay down. I had to have some people shine some light on me. I had to ask someone, hey, Benjamin crawls out of his crib at all hours of the night. Tell me what I do. Because I'm tempted to like go in there and have huge reactions to him in the night. And I remember my mom saying, Benjamin is going to be a type of friend that people can call him 24 hours a day and he's ready to go. I was like, oh my goodness, you're right. The Lord has put in him. He doesn't need a lot of sleep. Oh my word, it drives me insane as a baby. But you know what? Someday if I need Benjamin at 2 a.m, I'm going to call him and he's going to be there. Probably squeal his tires on the way. And so you're going to have to, and that's the blessing of this group, is sometimes you're going to come in here and you're going to feel like you have it all together, but you're going to need to say, can you shine some light on this for me? And maybe I feel like I'm the only one struggling right here. And other moms are going to be able to say, no, I felt that. Let me give you this perspective. Because what I know to be is that who you have at this stage really is the exact same person with who you have at this stage. It's incredible. The Lord's going to do a mighty work in them. But Peyton, who I was like, Tony, get over here, feel him. And he would not move. That is still my 18-year-old son. He's not going to put on a show for anyone. Who he is who he is, and he is fantastic. He's not going to perform for anyone. Benjamin, if I said, Tony, get over here and feel his kick, I was like, Tony, quit feeling him. He's going to come through my skin. He's ready to go. And so we have to remember all of those things. And then I want you to know this. You're going to have to claim a larger vision. And we've had to do that this whole pandemic. Claim a larger vision. Lord, how are you coming to our family in this? How are you coming to our family in this? Oh, my word, Barbara. You're fine. You guys. You're good. First off, in the pandemic, I learned that I actually am a terrible cook. You know, I'm really not that good. And I have a couple of meals that are really great. And, but most of them involve a tortilla. Crazy. And so when I was feeling really discouraged about that, we have a neighbor that is 94, and she has lost both of her children. And so we were just looking out for her as best as we could during that. And one day I went over there when I was really struggling, and of course we're keeping our distance, but I said, Miss Nancy, how can I bless you today? And I was thinking, I don't really know. I don't feel like I have many ways to bless her, you know. And she said, do you still make those quesadillas? Yes, Miss Nancy, and my family hates them. Because they've been eating quesadillas for 2 months now, you know. And she said, I would love one of those quesadillas. And I cried the whole way home. Because here's the thing. Sometimes what your gift that you have to give, that you may be giving to the same people all the time, they kind of get a little worn out with your gift. But I want you to know that if you start looking around, there are people who need what you have. And so when you're discouraged and you feel like, oh my word, all I have is quesadillas. Bless me. And I told the Lord, God, thank you for giving me someone who actually needed one. You're going to have to claim a larger vision. And sometimes in hard times, that means saying, God, how are you coming to me in this? In struggles with your children, in struggles with your husband, in struggles with your friends, in struggles with your in-laws. God, show me what you have for me in this. Because when we start to struggle, the enemy comes in and says, it's because you did it wrong. It's because they are only intending to hurt you. It's because of this. It's because of that. It's because of this. And I want you to know that the Lord, if we truly believe he works in all things, he works in all things. And so that means even hard things that catch you off guard, like a pandemic, he's at work. So you ask him, God, what does this look like for my family? What does a quarantine look like for us? What does, just any situation that you're in, ask him to claim a larger vision. And then I just want to remind you of a couple of things. In motherhood, you're going to have to give yourself a lot of grace. You're going to make mistakes. It's so crazy that the thing that you want to do better than you've ever done anything in the world, you're going to struggle with it. I'm telling you that the Lord could have given you a perfect child. Obviously, he did that once for Mary, but he didn't. He knit some of the struggles that your children are facing into who they are. One, so they would learn to rely on Jesus. And next, because they're intended to push you closer to Jesus. None of us are going to be given a child that at the end of it, we say, oh my word, I'm awesome. Ever since I wrote this book, I'll get messages from people I don't know who are like pouring out these huge dramas. And they're like, tell us how you would fix it. And I'm like, okay, here's the thing. You haven't read the book, because the byline of the book is finding your way by following Jesus. I can't fix it. I can't even fix my own. Just learning to rely on Jesus and trusting him and knowing that he told us, you're not perfect, but my strength is made perfect in your weakness. Think about that all the time. Think about that all the time. God, you knew this was going to be hard. And you intended that it would drive me to my knees, and that's where I'm at. Actually, Benjamin was struggling with something the other day, and I told him, I go, Benjamin, have you gotten down on your knees about this yet? And he goes, what? I mean, no. And I go, well, here's the thing. I have found when I'm really struggling, sometimes I will get down on my knees, and honestly, there are times when I will get down and I will put my nose on the ground. And I will say, God, this is too much for me. And if posture has anything to do with it, God, I can't get lower. If I had a basement, I would go down in it. But I'm humbled before you, and I need you to work. And I said, Benjamin, maybe I haven't done that enough in front of you. And he goes, because it would be weird. And I said, yeah, it would be. But honey, you need to know your dad not do that. There's some nights when you're asleep in your bed that we are laying down outside of your room and going, God, we don't know what to do. And he has seen us through. And it has not always turned out like what we thought. We know he's with us. And so I just want to remind you that you have a God who is for you. You have a God who is with you. And someday, when this little thing becomes this big thing, and they're talking about leaving in a few months, the only way you feel good about it is the same God that met you when you were face down on their carpet outside of their room, when they were a baby, begging God, let them sleep. He's the same God that meets you when you say, God, how will my heart ever feel at home again if he is gone? I'm asking the Lord some huge things. It's crazy how that happens as they leave. I wrote down this and I want you to know it. Wait, what did I write down? Gosh, I thought I had such a great thought. Maybe I didn't. I wrote down, you will pray to the extent you believe it makes a difference. You will pray to the extent you believe it makes a difference. I tell Benjamin about laying down on his face because I want him to know it makes a difference. Makes a difference in my heart, in myself, in who I am. I'm going to end with this story, and then I realize, you guys, we have skipped all the discussion questions, but I want you to have your time. Oh my goodness, no, we're going to end right now. Last summer, it was during the pandemic. Yeah, because it was in March that this started. Our daughter Eden started asking for a bird. We were like, Eden, birds are gross. I mean, no offense if you have a bird, but we were like, they're gross and they carry diseases, and we don't want one in our house. I mean, like, honestly, we have 2 guinea pigs, a huge dog, a horse that lives down the street from us, and I like that. I don't want him by us. And then, I mean, okay. And so then Eden keeps praying, and I'm like, Eden, quit praying for a bird. Like, you're wasting God's time. You're not getting a bird. You're not getting one. And she said, well, I was thinking if I asked Paul and Precious, who are my parents. I said, I've already told Paul and Precious, do not buy you a bird. Because sometimes my dad, like, overrides us. Did any of y'all have a parent like that? We were like, Dad, the girls don't need any pets. We're like, the girls don't need any more pets. And he's like, but what about these rabbits? I mean, it's the most bizarre thing. And he's like, and I got a cage in my truck. We're like, Dad, you can't do things like this. So we've told him, do not buy her a bird. Now, as it goes on, I mean, you know how just the fatigue you were feeling last year by August. This is August. Eden's been asking for a bird, told her no, quit asking for it, quit doing this, quit all of this stuff. Come August, I've had a hard conversation with a friend. One of those conversations that's made harder because the friend doesn't even realize it's hard. Have you ever had one of those where you're like, everything you're saying is ripping my heart out, but you don't even know it's ripping my heart out? I just was exhausted with it. Shelby was missing her friends. She wanted to be back in school. I honestly was starting to see some mental health decline in my kids. I could see it happening. But what do you do? What do you do? I was feeling the weight of that. And some of you may know the cookie genius that makes cookies over at the Hills, North Richland Hills campus. Anyway, she has a porch pickup. And so I just said to her, I texted her, hey, it's showing that you still have cookies. I hope I'm having the kind of day. If you don't have cookies, I'll probably drive my Suburban through your front door. You know, just trying to bless people. And I get over there and there's no cookies. So I text her, nice. Decided not to wreck my Suburban. You know, anyways, we're friends. I knew she'd laugh. That afternoon, I'm talking with another friend and telling her how terrible this day's been. And she said, I'm just really praying that God will surprise you. Well, that would be nice. Jessica, the cookie genius, shows up with a big box of her mistake cookies. And she says, hey, I know, I mean, these are all mistakes, which we were like, who cares? They're cookies with icing. They're amazing. You know, but she did them the wrong color. She brings me this box of cookies. And I'm standing there just talking about how hard life is. And all of a sudden, a blue parakeet comes. And Jessica actually has the wherewithal to say, is there a bird about to land on your shoulder? And this blue parakeet, the exact color that Eden's been praying for, lands on my shoulder. And I said, she goes, what in the world? And I go, Eden has been asking for this bird. And I put my finger like this, and the bird steps onto it. And I carry it in, and I said, Eden, is this the bird you've been asking God for? And Eden falls down on her knees and starts crying. And she goes, you got it? And I go, Eden, God sent this bird. Like, it's 120 degrees outside. A parakeet isn't supposed to be out in weather over 85. How did this bird land on my shoulder in the middle of our neighborhood? We put it out on Facebook. No one gets the bird. No one's ever seen this bird. No one has a bird. You know, Tony says, if God meant to send us a bird, we got to buy it a cage. And I'm like, it's still nasty, even if it's from God. But we buy the cage. And Tony says, can you start having Eden pray over my hair loss? You know, and anyways, you guys, I just want you to know that, like, the other scripture that I put on our deal, if you'll read those scriptures that you're about to spend time with, says, we have seen the Lord do remarkable things. In motherhood, if you will say to the Lord, it may not be every day, but every time you think about it, God, open my eyes to the remarkable things you're doing. Sometimes what you're going to see is a bird out of nowhere come and land on your shoulder. Other times you're going to have new eyes for that child that you gave birth to or fostered or that came into your home, and you're going to say, "What a remarkable thing." Be a mother that notices the remarkable things. I'm going to pray for you the whole way home. Such a gift to be with y'all today.